Isha, starting with you, how will you remember the 2024 F1 season?
As we were talking about it yesterday during the pre-race show, I think the best way to think about it was as a roller coaster. Everything started even before the season started, with all the silly season drama. There was so much drama and chaos at the start of the season, and I think um, it it gave way to the fact that, the rest of the season was going to be insane, very chaotic, very dramatic, but also very entertaining. We had some insanely high highs, with a lot of drivers getting amazing wins, like Charles Leclerc in Monaco, Lewis Hamilton with the British Grand Prix, and then Carlos Sainz after his appendectomy, coming back and winning that race as well. And then we also had some very low lows, as you pointed out. We had to say goodbye to some very loved drivers. Saw some new faces, some new rookies. So this season, from beginning to end, was just an insane roller coaster. And I don't think at any point of the season you could tell which way things were gonna go. So I think it was very very entertaining. And it was a really nice surprise compared to the past few seasons and how they had gone to where it's just Red Bull domination from point A to Z. So I think this was a really entertaining and roller coaster season.
Yeah, it's funny how things work sometimes in this sport. I remember in 2021 when we got that epic battle between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. I feel like Max was kind of the crowd favorite because Lewis had won, my goodness, I guess 6 of the last 7 championships. Mercedes had won all of the last 7 constructors, and everybody wanted somebody to take the fight to them. And that ended up being Max Verstappen, and he ended up taking the fight and winning the championship in Abu Dhabi that year in very controversial circumstances. Not to open that can of worms again, but over the last couple of years, Max Verstappen's now become a dominant force in this sport. And I think he's kind of now seen as the villain of Formula One. And now everybody's trying to rally behind Lando Norris and McLaren, or maybe Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, or maybe it's going to come full circle. Maybe it'll be Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari next year and see who can knock Max Verstappen off his throne here. So I think, especially now that we've gotten a taste of that with Red Bull kind of falling back towards the second half, McLaren coming up to win the Constructors, Ferrari being second in the Constructors, the ingredients are all there for an epic season in 2025 before major regulation change. Not much unlike what we had in 2021, ironically enough. We're going to get this great season perhaps, and then they're going to change the regulations on us, and maybe we'll go back to seeing one team dominate everything. But I think this season certainly set us up for a lot of great storylines next year. I remember at the end of 2023 kind of dreading the start of this season because I figured, and it did really look like at the start of the year, it was going to be more of the same, just a Max Verstappen show with him dominating and winning almost every race. And of course, the second half of the year, we were treated to something different. And I'm hopeful, again, that McLaren can start the year on the right foot in 2025, that Ferrari come back strong with that driver pairing of Leclerc and Hamilton. And even that Mercedes can kind of try to recapture some of that magic. I think we have a big 4 now. I think we have 4 teams. As you mentioned, Joe, all 4 of them got 1-2s at certain points this year. As much as Lewis was complaining about how awful that Mercedes car was at times this year, there were tracks where Mercedes looked unstoppable, namely even Vegas just a couple of weeks ago when they got that 1-2 finish and Lewis was able to charge through the field. So I think there are so many different track types now on the schedule that benefit each of these 4 different teams in different ways. I think we could have an epic season next year. And I think we'll look back on this season as kind of laying the foundation for those storylines that we're hopefully going to get here in 2025.
And the potential next year too, Adrian Newey with Aston Martin. Be interested to see how that turns out as well. Overall, from the first race where it just Max Verstappen, okay, Max Verstappen, Red Bull again, to the last few races, especially Las Vegas, I feel that's where I really was just, who is going to win this race? Can it really beat the Mercedes? Because they, like you said, were just unstoppable. I've really enjoyed the unpredictability of that. And then the midfield, even that battle for 6th place in the championship. What a plot twist! A double podium in Brazil. Granted, there was a red flag and the timing and the rules of changing the tires benefited Alpine. But for them to get that double podium and to claim 6th place, what a shock. They were the slowest car at the beginning of the season. And somehow we even saw Pierre Gasly put him 3rd in the starting grid at Las Vegas. I think this was good. It's going to be remembered as a good season. good competition. I'm hopeful the FIA stuff long term gets resolved, so we're not looking back of how they messed up 2024 for F1. But overall, I thought it would be very, very well remembered. In the chat room, Edward Hunter. Newey's impact on Aston Martin in 2020 will be limited because he joined mid-season, not enough time to make an impact. All his focus is on the regulation change for 2026 and Honda joining Aston Martin.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think I get what you're saying, Joe, and I'm excited for that too. But I think that's more something to look forward to with the regulation changes coming in 2026. Remember, the last time we had regulation changes, Newey with Red Bull, they're the ones that have dominated the last few years. The only thing I don't know, I hope Fernando Alonso hasn't won his last race. I know it's been over a decade at this point. I would love to see him on the top 7 of the podium one more time. I don't know. I feel like he's going to have to hang on until 2026, though, in which he'll be turning 45 years old. You know, maybe not too old for a NASCAR driver, but that's ancient in Formula One terms. But then again, if anybody can do it, you know, we've seen the talent that Alonso obviously possesses, and you know, he's even shown it at times this year. Obviously, the car wasn't as strong as it was in 2023, but you know, we'll see. Aston Martin's got a very bright future ahead of them, I think, as well, for sure.